Episode 2. Permission Granted. Our first episode ended with two questions. First, what if your life is not only yours? Second, what if we are the eyes of RT, all that is, the universe, seeing itself from infinite perspectives? If you spent even a little time chewing on these thoughts, you may have felt a subtle, reflexive and internal tightening. There seems to be a deeply ingrained human habit to take a realization and immediately turn it into a gradable test. We wonder if we are performing correctly. We tend to treat any expanded awareness as yet another item on a cosmic to-do list, when all we really want is less. For the next 20 minutes or so, hopefully we will allow an out-breath, an exhalation, a sigh, a release of tension. Our contemplation will concern permission. Not a permission granted by an external authority, but a permission granted by our very existence. We'll consider the possibility of escape from the twin treadmills of betterment and strive, and go towards the respite of ease and presence. If the universe is learning through the collective, then, really, our only job is to bear witness to the textures of our days. We're not here to be finished masterpieces. We are the canvas, the paint, and the observer, all happening at once. Before the very first word was scratched into clay, humans were gathering meanings through the simple acts of noticing. Rituals were not chores, they were ways of paying attention. So what might it feel like in our chests, our bellies, our diaphragms right now, if simply being fully present was enough to justify our entire existence? Chapter 1. The relief of not having to qualify. With the gift of self-awareness, the human animal has been taunted by a singular, nagging doubt. What are we supposed to do with this life? We look at our hands, our time, and our fleeting breath, and we've assumed that there's a quota to meet. We fear that a life lived without a great work is a life wasted. But history suggests that the pressure to qualify our existence is a relatively modern neurosis. At Göbekli Tepe, perhaps 11,000 years ago, we see the fingerprints of those who valued attention over accumulation. Intricate motifs, animals and symbols were carved into stone. There was no economy to serve, no brand to build. There was only the communal need to store memory. When a site or memory became full, or perhaps obsolete, they did something fascinating. They buried it. Archived it, maybe, for potential future reference. They filled the site with earth and started over. They understood that the value was in the doing, not the monument itself. they gave themselves permission to reset. Ancient Egyptians maintained a similar release from expectation through the principle of Ma'at, the cosmic balance. In the Egyptian mind, the universe was a delicate clockwork. The pharaoh was vital, yes, but so was the scribe recording the grain harvest and the labourer treading the mud. Why? Because if the scribe stopped being a scribe, the balance was lost. Personal value was not a ladder to be climbed, it was a material, both warp and weft, to be part of. To the Egyptian, the act of being properly situated in the world was the highest achievement. We don't need to be more than what we are. We just need to be exactly what we are. In the Bhagavad Gita, we find the warrior Arjuna on the battlefield, paralyzed by doubt. His crisis is existential. He is caught between duty and love. He is looking for a better and higher vantage point to prove his choices are correct. Krishna's response is famously counterintuitive. He doesn't produce a moral checklist. Instead, he invites Arjuna to act according to his nature and his present station, without attachment to the outcome. Krishna is essentially granting both Arjuna and humanity permission to stop auditioning for a cosmic passing grade. He suggests that the action belongs to us, but that the results belong to the whole, RT. When we stop worrying about whether our lives count, we could finally discover the energy to actually live them. Modern information theory seems to mirror this. Some physicists suggest the universe's primary goal is the processing of information. From this perspective, a star exploding and a person feeling the cold sting of a winter morning are equally valuable data points. The universe, however, RT, does not rank a quality for the data. It simply requires that the data be generated and logged. We are the biological sensors for all that is. Chapter 2. Existence as its own permission. Are we starting to live in a meritocracy of the soul? A world where a person's value is measured by their apparent depth of character and the plaudits they receive for the perceived worthiness of their actions? If so, we have managed the final degradation and turned the inner life into a marketplace. We have made fulfillment a trophy, a prize to be captured and polished and displayed for the approval of others. But this assumes that being is a skill to be mastered, or a brand to be built. Lao Tzu offered a different path in the Tao Te Ching. He suggested that the true follower of the way works without seeking public acclaim or adoration. The sage acts in the background, not for the visibility of the deed, but for the deed's own merit. And when the work is complete, it is so seamless that it leaves no room for praise. It simply is. In our modern performance cult, This feels like a radical sabotage. We are told that if an experience wasn't shared, it didn't happen. But the Tao reminds us that the most profound states of being occur when the self that is seeking those plaudits finally gets out of the way. And this is the essence of flow. The glorious concept of flow was coined by Hungarian-born psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. It speaks to the same meaning as effortlessness. When our attention might get lost in the grain and sweep and pattern of a piece of timber, or the swirling waters of a stream around a particular rock, the ego, the part that asks, "Are we doing this well?" dissolves. In flow, the action and the actor are one. The universe is experiencing itself through the medium of the task. We really shouldn't need a red carpet premiere to justify the hours spent in creating something. The time spent is the justification. The Upanishads speak of the two birds of the self sitting on the same branch. One, Jivatma, the active self, busily eats the fruit, whether it's ripe or whether not, and as fast as possible. The second bird, Paramatma, or Brahman, our RT, just watches. Most of us spend our lives as the busy, consuming bird, frantically trying to find the best fruit to prove we are the most successful, but getting poor fruit as well as a consequence. But the permission is the realization that we are also the witnessing bird. The act of noticing is just as vital as the act of consuming. The existentialists offered a similar release. Jean-Paul Sartre argued that existence precedes essence. We were born before we had a purpose. We are blank checks. There is no pre-written script we are failing to follow. Albert Camus suggested that listening out for meaning in a silent universe is a fool's errand, but that the revolt of living joyfully anyway is the victory. If life is meaningless in the traditional sense, then we have total permission to find meaning in nearly everything and anything, even the way the light hits a glass of water. From a biological perspective, consciousness is a staggering anomaly. The vast majority of the matter in the known universe is comparatively cold and silent. We are rare pockets of hot matter that can think and feel. Because we are so rare, anything we experience is a win for the system. A child marvelling at a ladybird is not wasting time. That child is one set of RT's eyes seeing a unique meaning of ladybird. Can you find one absurd thing in the room right now that is beautiful simply because it exists? Chapter 3. The Balance of Difference. The human mind is a categorizing machine. We love hierarchies. We rank jobs, bodies, and even aesthetic lifestyles. We assume that a monk meditating in the Himalayas is having a better or more spiritual experience than a parent changing a nappy in a cramped apartment. But hierarchy requires an outside observer to set the scale. If we are RT, there is no outside. There are no scorecards. There is only the totality of the experience. In this view, difference is not a deficiency. It is a mechanism of balance. Taoism teaches this through the metaphor of the uncarved block, the danger that the process of changing the original form of anything removes the potential it had to be all things. Water, the Taoists remind us, always seeks the lowest ground, the places humans despise. Yet water is the most powerful force in nature. The low place is not worse than the mountain peak, it is simply where water goes. In the Tao Te Ching, we are reminded that long and short define each other. We cannot have the extraordinary without a vast sea of the ordinary to give it context. Imagine a temperate rainforest. We see the towering trees and call them the winners. But the forest is equally composed of the fungus breaking down rotting logs and the damp moss in the shadows. If every part of the forest tried to be a towering tree, the forest would collapse. The inequality of the organisms is what creates the equality of the ecosystem. Our lives may feel small compared to a giant of history, but the forest of consciousness requires our specific shade. Stoicism is often misunderstood as grim endurance. But at its heart, it's about non-essentials. Marcus Aurelius argued that wealth or fame are preferred non-essentials. They are nice to have, but they do not change the core quality of our participation in the logos, or universal reason. Whether we are an emperor or a slave, our job is the same: to act with awareness in the circumstances we are given. The circumstances are just props. The performance is the thing. Though somewhat easier to endure if you are an emperor. Chapter 4. The Performance Cult and the Mirror. We must address a difficult truth. Experiences are not equal in intensity, comfort, or social value. Some live lives of immense ease. Others face grinding hardship. Modern self-help culture often tries to flatten this by saying we all have the same 24 hours, but this is a hollow lie. The Vedanta tradition offers a more sophisticated lens. It suggests that while the content of our lives is wildly unequal, the presence of the consciousness experiencing them is identical. Atman is Brahman. This means the eye that experiences hunger is the same eye that experiences luxury. To RT, the inequality of experience is not a moral failing. It's a diversification of the portfolio. If we were authors writing a 1,000-page novel, we would write all things: betrayal, boredom, ecstasy, and grief. However, we have deceived ourselves into a self-optimization complex. This has birthed what we might call the performance cult, and is the ultimate emperor's new clothes. We are all standing in the cold, pretending our high-performance habits are a suit of armour, when in reality we're just exhausted humans shivering in the wind. The industry, the cult, profits from our shivering. The performance cult is, at its heart, a hall of mirrors. And we are so busy checking our form, our progress, and our readiness scores in the glass that we have forgotten that the one doing the looking, the eye behind the eyes, is already the infinite. We don't need a better reflection. We need to realise we are the light that makes the reflection possible. Assuming there are no cosmic scorecards keeping track of our performances, what might be the first thing you decide to stop doing? Chapter 5. The value of unwanted experiences. We live in an anti-Stoic age. We view discomfort as a technical glitch. If we feel anxious, we need a pill. If we feel bored, we need to scroll. But unwanted experiences are not errors. They are high contrast data. A camera needs shadows to define light. What if the human drive for novelty and curiosity is actually a reset mechanism? When we feel that gnawing restlessness, what if that is actually RT saying, "Thank you, I have integrated this experience, I am ready for a new texture. Move on." Dissatisfaction then is not a malfunction, it's an invitation, a request. Think of the biological concept of homeostasis. Our bodies are constantly adjusting. Shivering when cold, sweating when hot, we are never finished. We are a dynamic, shifting process. Our unwanted feelings are just the shivering of the soul, trying to find a new balance. Imagination is the tool we use to bridge these states. When we imagine a different life, we are literally simulating new possibilities for the whole. Chapter 6. Permission Granted. And so it comes down to this. The permission offered here is not a license for laziness, but it is a license to be real. It's a permission to discard the self-optimization complex. We know its voice. It's the one that whispers that our morning coffee isn't an enjoyable ritual. It's a caffeine delivery system. And that our workout isn't a pleasant stretch and power-up, but a box ticked. The permissions are these. 1. We do not need to optimize. We are not pieces of software, we are biological events, and events just happen. 2. We do not need to locate a hidden destiny. If we are RT, all that is, every path we take is, by definition, a path the universe wanted to explore. 3. We do not need to prove our net worth. We are already contributing by the mere fact of our existence. If we finally grant ourselves permission, we are effectively resigning from the board of directors of our own optimization project. And there is a glorious wry delight in doing something inefficiently, simply because today the sun is warm and life is good. Receiving permission is not the end of this journey. It is the beginning of a different kind of movement. When we no longer act out of fear of judgment, either our own or another's, we start to move in a different way. And in episode 3, we stop asking, what should we do with our lives? Instead we ask, if we already have permission, what will we actually notice? If we truly believed, right down to the marrow of our bones, that we already had cosmic permission to be exactly as we are, what is the very first thing we would do with our newfound freedom? Until next time, keep noticing, as RT is watching through our eyes, and it likes what it sees.